In this episode, you will learn about the different types of questions that are color-coded according to their levels and how they affect the cognitive motor seesaw. The cognitive side of the seesaw is the question level, and the motor side refers to the device level or coaching level. You will see how when you increase the cognitive demand on the student by increasing the level of the question, you may need to decrease the motor demand by going back to an easier device or using more invasive coaching. Likewise, when you increase the motor demand by starting a new device or using less invasive coaching, you may need to lower the cognitive demand by lowering the question level. The device, question, and coaching interact, and this video will show you how the CP explores the interaction to maximize the typer's success. Types of questions.
Just so I can help them and coach them a little bit more that day.
You are coming into the middle of this conversation about types of questions.
All right, and so let's just define open question. A closed question has one right answer.
A known question.
A known question has one right answer, and a semi-open has...
A semi-open, in the lessons that you will see, is going to be marked in orange. Okay, and what it is saying to you when you see that is the information was given in the previous paragraph or in the lesson. Okay, but the student is going to start to be able to choose the language from their own head. Now, some people use tight and loose semi-opens. I use simple or complex. Okay, for me, a simple semi-open is a list. So, the paragraph says, Elizabeth, Ginny, and Judy were discussing spelling and typing for communication. Name one person who was discussing spelling for communication. So the only answers the student can give is Ginny, Judy, Elizabeth, but they have to choose one. So it's the first time that a student has the ability to get to a letter of their choice. They've gained enough motor skill that they can think, okay, I want to say Elizabeth, and I can actually get my body to listen to me and get up to the E.
Please celebrate your first successful simple semi-open answer. This will be the first time your typer will have typed a letter of their choice.
Okay, a complex semi-open would be Judy, Ginny, and Elizabeth were discussing what? Now, a student could say simply spelling for communication, but a student could say typing and spelling for communication. A student could say they were discussing, they were talking about. I'm interested in the fact that they were discussing spelling and typing. I don't really know what they're going to say. And that is the level that's right before purely open communication, in which a student is saying anything that they want. All right, so when we're talking about cognitive level of questions, that's what we're talking about. Not understanding, because remember, the person sitting in front of you has normal cognitive capabilities. What we're talking about is this simply a known question so that we can help coach them? Is this a semi-open and we're starting to push towards them selecting the language from their heads? Or is it a purely open question, which would be something like, Judy, Elizabeth, and Ginny were discussing many interesting topics. Name a topic you'd be interested in discussing with Elizabeth. It could be anything on the planet. Okay, so that's an open question, and that, of course, is our ultimate goal, to give them the ability to converse, saying anything that they want.
Please don't get confused by the term cognitive level of the questions. The questions aren't harder at a higher level. It's just that the answers are more complex. You are helping us balance the cognitive and motor demands on us, and with practice we can achieve higher and higher levels as we get more control.
All right, but we have to go through these steps, okay? And you have to stick with the program. Don't go off and start throwing a 26-letter board in front of somebody, okay, until such time as you are a confident coach, and they are succeeding in getting to letters on their own without coaching. All right, at that point, what we might do, I just wanted to finish the point I was making before.
Yes.
So I had said some students for years, my students who are extremely motor impaired, if they are having a day where they are really struggling on this board, I might do something like ask them that semi-open question. And simply, if we're discussing Wordsworth, I might simply say, give them a question that's lower cognitive level than they are capable of answering intellectually, of course. But I might simply say, last week we were discussing Tintern Abbey, and we were discussing the Rime of the Ancient Mariner by Coleridge. Okay, which poem would you like to continue discussing today? And that way I can then, if they go in on this board into the R, I know that they're going to spell rhyme. I might then go back and forth between the boards, just to give them a little bit to have them, again, my big thing is success. The most important thing is success. If they are flailing around on this board and they can't get there, I'm not going to make them feel awful about themselves.
Yes, that's right.
Okay.
It's so important. I think we never want to say, they're on that board, the 26, so we're done with these. So let's make that point.
That's the point.
That on any given day, you might say, we're not having success right now. Let's go back, and it's just like, if you do a warm-up,
Right.
like you said,
Right.
to get them getting back in the rhythm.
Right.
Again, we always think of this as kind of a dance.
That's
So,
exactly right.
yeah.
And so, who knows? They could have been up all night. They could be incredibly fatigued. They could have allergies and just be really uncomfortable that day.
I can confirm that some days are better than others for getting my finger to hit the letters. Isn't it true for you too before your coffee?
As long as they're working on the motor with me, I am not going to be a stickler for pushing it on a day where I can see that my student is having regulation issues, is tired, that kind of thing, because I'm a big believer in this should be fun. It should be fun.
Yeah.
And if you're failing, all that's going to happen is you're going to feel awful about yourself.
Cognitive motor seesaw.
So one thing I think that families have heard, and I'd like you to explain it to them, which is, you just touched on it, it's that cognitive motor seesaw.
Yes.
Okay, so can you explain the cognitive motor seesaw?
In point of fact, that may be the single most important thing I can teach anybody.
Okay.
All right, so in the very beginning, when a student is learning this skill, okay, we're on these 3 boards. Okay, we are working at that point purely on a motor skill. Remember, this is a brand new student. You will see video of me working, in fact, with brand new students. All right, I am not going to be asking them, again, bearing in mind what I just said about cognitive. Okay, I'm not going to be asking them an open question on the first day. They have nowhere near the ability to get their eyes and hands to cooperate enough to be able to answer that question. So I'm going to keep the cognitive level of the questions low because I'm pushing up on their motor skills. So like that seesaw idea. So we're only going to be asking known questions. Now, let's suppose that I've been working with a student for a while and they are starting to get really successful on these boards. What I might do, okay, is I might look for a question that's a simple semi-open, so a list, where 2 perhaps of the answers, the letters are on the same board. So again, if we're answering that question here, okay, Elizabeth and Ginny both start on this board. So I might say, today we're going to push up a little smidge, okay, on that cognitive piece. And I'm going to say, of those 3 people that I was mentioning, who do you want to say? Pick one out of your own head. E. I now know that she wants to spell her own name. E and, L and,
You don't have to spell the whole thing. It's long.
I and, we're good with it. Z and, because there's another
She could have
chance
been Liz.
to see a lack of me needing to coach.
Yeah.
And E, and then the last letter. Okay, so I pushed up a little bit on the cognitive side. All right, well now we're rocking. She's really getting to the letters on these boards, my non-speaker. I even was able to ask a simple semi-open. By the way, if you are restricting the answers on that simple semi-open, I always acknowledge it to the student. In that case, I would have said, 2 of the 3 answers start on this board. I'm sorry, but you can only pick 2 of them because we're still on these boards. Just acknowledging that I am limiting what they could say in case they wanted to say Judy. All right, so I would always acknowledge that.
Judy, thank you for acknowledging when you limit our communication. I would add that finding a simple semi-open that you can ask on 3 stencils should only be tried when your typer is hitting the answers to known questions with great accuracy and minimal coaching. You may need to do the green questions for dozens of lessons before making this move to semi-open questions.
We decide now we're going to push up on the motor skills.
She's rocking, so you're moving.
We're rocking. We're ready to do this. You don't just throw this board in front of your non-speaker.
Yeah.
You slowly incorporate it.
Device, question, coaching interaction.
Elizabeth, we're working on learning about spiders, if you remember. Okay, we're going to just do an easy spell word. Okay, excellent. Okay, first letter, top shelf. Oh, look, I'm upping my coaching. Why am I upping my coaching? Because I'm introducing a much more difficult board with 26 options as opposed to a maximum of 9. All right, so up your coaching level.
You may recall this graphic from orientation video 3 showing the interaction of device, question, and coaching levels. Here you are seeing an example of how when you start a new device, you will need to lower the question level and raise the coaching level. Example of board transition.
Top shelf, all the way on the right, up and get it. Up, 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 E, and lose the board. Go right back, and get it. And get it. And back up and get it. Up, 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 in the top right corner, up and get it. E, X, C, E. Top shelf, get it on the top. L. Look towards the left in the middle. Eyes are towards the left in the middle. E, X, C, E, L, L. All the way. E, N, T. I did one letter on it, went back to the 26, brought it back, maybe 2 or 3 letters in a word.
In this episode, we discussed the types of questions and how they affect the cognitive motor seesaw. Known questions, also called closed questions, have one answer and are colored green. Simple, or tight, semi-open questions have a short list of answers and are colored orange. Complex, or loose, semi-open questions have a variety of answers and are also colored orange. Open questions allow typers to write whatever they wish and are colored pink. The cognitive motor seesaw helps the CP understand how to make progress with the typer. The CP can push up the cognitive demand with higher level questions. Push up the motor demand with new devices. Device, question, coaching interaction is a central concept. The CP explores the interaction while maintaining the typer's success. Coaching increases with each new cognitive or motor demand, and then the coaching fades away as the typer gets more practice and success. For your typing exercise, choose an age-appropriate lesson from the C4A website. Probe the cognitive motor seesaw. Increase the cognitive level by moving from a closed question to a simple semi-open. Increase the motor level by using the 26-letter stencil for some letters. Increase the coaching level when increasing the motor or cognitive demand. Remember that the most important thing is success. If the typer is not having success, decrease the cognitive level from a semi-open to a closed question. Decrease the motor demand by going back to the 3 stencils. Increase the coaching level to include hand gestures and verbal directions. Here it is. Your moment of zen.
I'm able to talk and have friends. Friends now. Hmm.